Life is wonderful if you have good food on the plate and some good music. Isn't that right? Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Smart Protein webinar powered by Biotecnika and Mumbai Smart Protein Project. My name is Shekhar Suman, CEO, Managing Director at Biotecnika, and I welcome all of you and thank you so much for joining from all the platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, and of course, YouTube. So welcome Sumedha, Dipali, and everyone. Please quickly confirm in chat if you guys can hear me and see me too. Welcome and a very good evening, a Saturday evening where we are going to warm up some food for you. Well, we always talk about science, right, at Biotecnika, and I believe that if we are not talking science, then we are not creating awareness in the society, among the scientists, and of course, not coming up with newer solutions to existing problems, right? So, guys, as you can see, the whole world is exploring as we speak. The population is increasing and it should, but at the same time, scientists are worried about food security. And at the same time, the ethicists and a lot of voices and opinion are heard towards the traditional method of protein production, right? So Mumbai Smart Protein Project has come up with this webinar idea, and of course we are supporting that, and we are broadcasting this live across all our social media platform. Hi Ravali, Zakia, and everyone. So why we are doing this, I want to highlight first. So I think 2 to 3 months back, I think in October or November, Kamal Nayan, who is himself a very old subscriber of Biotecnika. In fact, most of the Mumbai Smart Protein Project members are old subscribers of Biotecnika, who approached us and said that we should talk about this. And I loved the idea, and I said, why not? Let's do it. And then finally, we got the dates from all the speakers, and that's when February is going to be fantastic because we are going to talk about some good food, right? We love food. Hey, I am a foodie. Let me, accept that on camera today. But what if the food is coming from smart proteins? What if it is all about newer ways of producing proteins? And what if all of that we get to hear from some amazing people out there? So in this webinar series, we'll have Amrutha Girivasan, who is SciTech Associated Good Food India Limited. And then we have Arman Dhanda, co-founder of Possible Foods, who will be joining us, Pranjali Garg, co-founder of ProMeat, and all of them are going to join on separate sessions. Kamal Nayan, he's the co-founder of PHX44. He'll be joining us. Then Bharat, who is the founder of Biocraft Foods, he'll be joining us. Ashutosh will be joining us today. He's the General Secretary of Mumbai Smart Protein Project, ICT. And Adit Agarwal, he's the President of Mumbai Smart Protein Project, IIT Bombay. Jay Gupta, who is a Vice President of Mumbai Smart Protein Project, ICT Mumbai. And of course, our team will be in the background. I'll be right here to host and conduct this webinar. So the dates are today, we are conducting the first session. The next session will be on 10th of February. And then on 17th of February, followed by that will be 24th of February. So do not miss any of the sessions. Okay, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., 2 hours online it will be. And today is the first session. Now, some important facts about why we are doing this, I would like to highlight. So as you know, Biotecnika is all about mission Biotecnika revolution. We have a vision to empower every scientist, every potential scientist out there who wishes to make a successful career in biosciences. And of course, food tech is a part of the life science industry. So why not, we should talk about it. Now, as we look at biotechnology, it has got a lot of power of transformation, right? Sustainable nutrition, environmental impact, followed by ethical considerations, of course. So we have always looked after these kind of webinars. We have always looked upon these kind of webinars. And today, now that we have a chance to get started, let me tell you that these kind of webinars are not just to create awareness and educate you, but to create a global impact. And that's the reason Mumbai Smart Proteins Project is here with all of us to talk about. We are here to engage the community, enrich you with things which makes people talk about it, right? So let's talk about the global need now. What is the need of smart proteins? So At this juncture, we know that there are critical challenges which the alternative proteins industry is facing, and in the at the global context, and of course, there is a lot of opportunities which can be tapped. So, without taking much of your time, I would invite Ashutosh and followed by that Amruta, who would take care of the entire webinar and all the best. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat section. Also, there will be a Q&A section at the end, so you will get to know a lot about all of that. So, Ashutosh, over to you. I will just add you onto the screen. Hey, Ashutosh, good evening. Can you hear me?
Hi, Shekhar. I can hear. I hope I'm
Welcome
audible
to the
loudly.
yeah. Welcome to the session, and over to you. Please get started.
So, just for your understanding, I will just begin with what exactly is smart protein or alternative protein is, and followed by what exactly you must have heard, listened, some Mumbai smart protein project. So, this is a kind of city-based project, and to be honest, if you know about GFI, GFI is a non-profit organization uh, that promotes alternative proteins throughout the world, and it's had different affiliates. To name a few are Asia Pacific and Brazil, Europe, and one such is India. And in India, we have different city-based projects. We have three until now: Mumbai, Chennai, and Delhi, which are being hosted in different universities. In Mumbai, we are hosted at both ICT Mumbai and IIT Bombay. So I will just set the scene for the next presentation by Amruta, who will be talking more about what exactly this smart protein and alternative protein is and how it can be made. I will just set the scene just to let you know, or just to add that curiosity in your mind, what exactly it is and what we are doing. So just to set the scene first, alternative proteins are a food product, or it could be a substitute for natural meat, the real meat or egg or other sources which gives us protein. And smart proteins can be of plant source or from microbial source, or it can be directly taken from the animal cell, which we'll be talking further in our third session by Kamal. And other than that, it has different advantages over let's say environmental. It has lower environmental impact, and it has very less ethical concerns and all. And to like, who am I to talk about this? If we like, if you could think of that, I would say at Mumbai Smart Protein Project we have three major work. One is the research and academia. Both ICT and IIT Bombay are equipped with research and academic purposes. So we have funding for biosciences and food technology based products, and followed by renowned researchers who could help and guide us through. And we have our faculty mentors too, whom you might meet in further sessions. And apart from these two, what exactly this Mumbai Smart Protein project does, there are five different goals for us. One, which we are currently doing, that is awareness and community building. So these are for general public, students, and other institutes which are not directly into food processing or biosciences but related. So for these, our main programs will be like seminar, webinars, or workshops, or some testing, food testing lab kind of thing. And followed by this, the two major things, being a academic and research institute, the two major things will be education and research. So for education, now we don't have any academic curriculum based on alternative proteins, so our main job would be to develop that, and that is not a matter of fortnight. It will be taken care in due course of time. And followed by research, which is currently under progress, and you will also see a lot more of this research part. So that's all what I can say about the Mumbai Smart Protein project. Now I would request Amruta to go ahead and speak more about what exactly is alternative protein and what GFI is doing.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashutosh. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see me. I will start my presentation now. and I hope you can see the screen as well. Um, Hi everyone. It's great to be here and to talk to you all about the smart protein landscape. I'm Amrutha, the Science and Technology Associate at the Good Food Institute India. So, first, I'd like to thank the Mumbai Smart Protein Project team and Biotecnika, Shekhar sir, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. Having seen the Mumbai Smart Protein Project's work over the past few months, I'm incredibly proud of all the impactful work that they're doing so far, and also really excited to see all their future initiatives. So, without further ado, I'll just dive into the agenda for today. We'll start with an introduction. We'll go into the challenge that our world is facing, what the solution is, and then we'll explore the science of smart protein and then end with future opportunities in the smart protein sector. So, for those not yet familiar with our organization, the Good Food Institute India is a global think tank and part of a network of non-profit agencies in 6 key regions. So, it's India, Asia Pacific, Israel, the United States, Brazil, and Europe, and we have 100 plus team members around the entire globe. So, as an organization, we work with scientists, entrepreneurs, investors, and other stakeholders diversifying protein sources for a more secure, sustainable, and just food system. Our goal at GFI is to make alternative proteins no longer alternative, and we primarily function across 4 broad pillars. So, our science and technology team works to advance the foundational science of alternative proteins by working with academic institutions, providing them technical advisory, and to ultimately make smart protein science accessible to all. This is the pillar that I belong to, and my work mainly involves building our incredible scientific community to foster scientific collaborations in smart protein. I also am a regional mentor for the India Smart Protein project chapters, who are our fantastic student groups, including the Mumbai Smart Protein Project, working on making sure that smart protein penetrates through the student community and that it reaches a wider audience. The next is our corporate engagement team, which builds relationships with the world's largest food manufacturers, meet companies, restaurants, and retailers, and helps them capitalize on opportunities in alternative proteins. Our innovation team then provides support to industry entrepreneurs and startups, as well as investors and financial institutions. And our policy team advocates for fair regulation of smart protein products and works with governments to increase investments in sustainable protein R&D. Now the world is facing a challenge. What exactly is this? Take a look at this chart. The world will have to close a whopping 56% food production gap to feed 10 billion people by 2050. This means that we need to produce an estimated 7,400 trillion more calories each year. With rising populations and growing food insecurity, developing countries like India will be major hotspots for the growing demand for meat. And however, industrial animal agriculture is fundamentally unsustainable, and finding a scalable alternative to help us address the growing food insecurity in a sustainable, efficient, and safe manner is absolutely essential. So let's look at how exactly conventional meat production is unsustainable. So, data from the UN FAO has shown that industrial animal agriculture is among the top 2 to 3 most significant contributors to the world's most pressing environmental issues that contribute to climate change. For example, water use, air pollution, and loss of biodiversity. And this is a higher share than the entire transport sector. So, you can probably imagine how high that number is. Additionally, cycling calories through animals is a production method which results in about 90% food waste. According to the World Resources Institute, chicken is the most efficient animal at turning crops into meat. And even then, we need to feed chicken 9 calories in to get 1 calorie out of it through meat. And beef production has much higher numbers, where you need to feed it 40 calories in to get 1 calorie out through meat. Also, the increasing emergence of zoonotic pathogens is a serious concern to human health, and the huge amount of antibiotics that are used on these industrial animal farms only adds to the threat of rising antimicrobial resistance. So, from this, it is clear that a change of trajectory is needed, and the good news is that we have a solution. This solution is smart protein. GFI India's theory of change is accelerating smart protein. What exactly is this? Smart protein products are those which can reliably and predictably substitute the consumption of animal derived meat, eggs, and dairy because they perfectly replicate the sensory and the cultural experience for consumers and offer several advantages in the supply chain for producers. Smart proteins also address 9 of the United Nations' 17 Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs, which are a call to action for urgent environmental, social, and economic progress. Smart proteins or alternative proteins, as they are known globally, have lower agricultural inputs across the board, including fertilizer, water, land used to grow feed, etc. And their production results in dramatically lower impacts on the environment in terms of nutrient runoff, as well as soil and air pollution. So you can see in this table how plant-based and cultivated meat production use much less resources as compared to conventional chicken, pork, and beef production. In our definition, smart protein is divided into three verticals: plant based, fermentation, and cultivated. Let's now dive into the science of smart protein. We'll start with plant based proteins. Plant based meat is, in essence, products that biomimic meat using plants as the building blocks. They look, taste, and cook just like conventional meat. And like animal products, their nutrition is also composed of protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, and water. The concept of plant based meat is probably the most familiar to you all as compared to fermentation derived and cultivated meat because this has been around for ages. And many of the early plant based meat products were actually designed with vegetarian consumers in mind. Early plant based meats didn't try to exactly replicate or biomimic conventional meat. However, recent concerns about sustainability, food security, and the impacts of industrial animal agriculture, like I mentioned before, have urged manufacturers to develop plant based meats that appeal to mainstream consumers rather than niche markets. So now you'll see a lot of flexitarians and meat eaters are encouraged to replace their diets partially, if not completely, with plant based meat that doesn't force them to compromise on the culinary experience of eating meat. This is India's smart protein startup ecosystem, which has truly taken off over the last 5 years, with more than 113 startups active across plant-based fermentation and cultivated proteins. There are 97 plant-based food companies in India, and this slide shows just a small subset of the players in the plant-based meat, egg, and dairy sectors. There are 377 plant-based products across 50 formats and 75 smart protein brands across meat, eggs, and dairy. Some tidbits of information for you all. One of the investors of this plant based brand called Shakahari is none other than MS Dhoni. Shah Rukh Khan had tweeted about Imagine Meats when it first launched. Imagine Meats is another plant based brand owned by a Bollywood power couple, Janile and Ritesh Deshmukh. Neeraj Chopra was brought on by the brand Good Dot as a brand ambassador. Another power couple, Virat and Anushka, are both ambassadors and investors for the brand Blue Tribe. All these promotions just show how plant based meat has truly entered the mainstream in India in just a few months' time. Now let's take a look at how plant-based meat is made. So first we identify the best source material and harvest the seeds. Today this is often wheat or soy, but it doesn't need to be. With India's vast millets and pulses supply, we can definitely make sure that these are used for plant-based meat. Only around 8% of plant-based protein sources have been explored for their use in plant-based meat, and we could definitely be seeing more varieties here. Next, we optimize that source so that it has more of the attributes we need in the final plant based meat product, such as higher protein content. The raw materials are then functionalized through mechanical or chemical processes to create optimal ingredients for the final product. The most common process you would have heard of here is extrusion, where the moist dough is put in through the extruder, which contains rotating screws and exits through a die from which we obtain a texturized product. The parameters and type of extrusion vary according to the source material and the desired end product. Other processes like shear cell technology, fiber spinning, and even 3D printing are now emerging. Finally, these ingredients are combined to create the final product. To mimic the texture, taste, and color of conventional meat better, other ingredients such as binders, oils, and fats and colorants are used in plant based meat. As a result, you get products like these. They may be restructured or whole muscle and are spread across a variety of formats. So, restructured products resemble ground, shredded, and bound animal based meat products, and they're often formed into patties, nuggets, etc. Whereas whole muscle products resemble primary, whole muscle, animal based meat and display a fibrous texture which is similar to this striated muscle in conventional animal meat. Examples include a chicken breast or a steak. Let's now go into fermentation, which in recent years has emerged as a key enabling technology for the smart protein industry. Microbial fermentation has been used for ages in making cheese, bread, wine, tempeh, you name it, and even rennet enzymes, which once used to be derived from calf stomach linings. Over time, with the development of science and technology, the role of fermentation has also expanded to other applications and industries. And now, in our daily usage, we can come across a wide range of fermentation derived products like food, antibiotics, all kinds of supplements, food dyes, etc. Fermentation is increasingly being used to create both ingredients and standalone plant based meat products. At GFI, we divide food fermentation into three categories: traditional, biomass, and precision fermentation. Each type of fermentation results in very different end products. The first here is traditional fermentation, which is the use of live microorganisms to modulate and process plant derived feedstock. This is the oldest form of fermentation. Think tempeh, yogurt, cheese, etc. Traditional fermentation is highly relevant for alternative proteins because it can improve the sensory, functional, and nutritional attributes of many ingredients. So, for example, by using traditional fermentation on pea protein, we can reduce the beany or bitter flavors that usually accompany these products and also make nutrients more available. The next is biomass fermentation, which is leveraging the fast growth and high protein content of microorganisms to efficiently produce large quantities of protein. Mycoprotein, produced by the UK based brand Corn Foods using mycelium from the fungi Fusarium venenatum, is a great example to be used here. Last is precision fermentation, which uses microbial hosts as cell factories to produce specific, high value functional ingredients that often require high purity. These include not only proteins, but also fats, enzymes, flavoring agents, vitamins, and natural pigments. These ingredients are incorporated at much lower levels in the finished products, but really improve the sensory characteristics and functionality of plant based products or cultivated meat. So, for example, let's take the heme protein used in the Impossible Foods burger. Impossible Foods is a plant based brand and they wanted to make their plant based burger patty resemble beef burger with the blood and the red color intact. The component they wanted to mimic here is heme, which is present in animal muscle. They found that the nitrogen fixing nodules of certain legumes have a component called leg hemoglobin, which provides the exact red color and functionalities of animal myoglobin that they were looking for, but the quantity was too small. So, to create more, the gene coding for leg hemoglobin was located, a host microbe, in this case yeast, was selected, and through recombination, this yeast produced leg hemoglobin in desired quantities in the bioreactor. Usually, after this process is done, there's a purification step such as filtration, which then yields us the final product at a high purity level. This graph here explains what I explained in the previous slide, and it divides the three approaches of fermentation according to the functionality needed from the product versus the degree of purification. So, in traditional fermentation, we need the microbe to be functional in order to produce the desired product, but the degree of purification is low, and sometimes no purification is needed at all because the microorganism is anyway a part of the product itself. An example here would be lactic acid bacteria in cheese and yogurt. In biomass fermentation, we don't need a lot of purification, and the microorganisms also don't need to be highly functional. Whereas in precision fermentation, the product needs to be of high purity, and the biological activity depends on the ingredient that we're after. For instance, enzymes need to be highly functional, whereas vitamins don't. The fermentation derived smart protein landscape is growing as well. There are 21 startups in the Asia Pacific region and specifically 4 in India. Corporates like Loris Bio and Reliance are also working on creating smart protein products and ingredients using fermentation. While we've barely scratched the surface of what's possible, fermentation is poised for rapid growth because the scale fermentation takes place at is massive, going up to 600,000 liters. It can be used to produce chemicals, ingredients at high volumes and low costs, ultimately benefiting other verticals of smart protein like cultivated meat, which use fermentation derived growth factors. It's also very familiar to the food industry since microbial fermentation of food has been around for ages and the R&D cycles are faster than they are for plants and animals, with the biomass being harvested every few hours for some processes. Ultimately, in the future, we won't see these three alternative protein production platforms as distinct industry segments, but rather as one large industry where we produce animal product alternatives across a spectrum utilizing ingredients from one or more technology. Products from microbial fermentation are likely to play a role along the entire alt protein spectrum, making them a critical component of the industry. So, examples of these hybrids will include enzymes which improve functionality, ingredients to improve sensory characteristics. A great example here would be the Impossible Burger that I briefly explained before, which is plant based but uses fermentation to produce leg hemoglobin, the signature ingredient which gives it that bloody appearance and meaty taste. Other examples are growth factors for cultivated meat and 100% fermentation derived ingredients like synthetic gelatin to replace animal based versions, which will be used in cultivated meat production. Last but definitely not the least, we have cultivated meat, which is genuine animal meat or seafood that can replicate the sensory and nutritional profiles of cultivated. Conventionally produced meat because it's comprised of the same cell types arranged in the same or similar 3D structure as animal muscle tissues. You all might be aware that Israel has now become the third country to join Singapore and the USA in receiving government approval for the manufacture and sale of their cultivated meat products. Achieving regulatory approval for the sale of cultivated meat is a tedious but extremely rewarding process, and it's heartening to know that India is not far off in this. Let's look at the process of cultivated meat production. Pioneers in this area are creating cultivated meat by borrowing technology from the cell therapy industry. So, a small biopsy of cells is obtained from an animal, that is step one. Then, these cells are expanded or proliferated in a bioreactor or a cultivator. And once they reach a sufficient number, the culture conditions inside the bioreactor are changed so that these cells can now differentiate to the cells that make up meat like muscle, fat, and connective tissue. This process overall takes around 6 to 8 weeks, which is still faster than the time required to raise an animal for slaughter. From an R&D perspective, addressing fundamental research white spaces is essential to building the foundation for large-scale solutions for cultivated meat. And for this, we need coordinated efforts and interdisciplinary research across four key research areas: cell line development, cell culture media, scaffolds, and bioprocess design. This may all sound like science fiction to you, but there are hundreds of companies across the world developing cultivated meat and seafood products, and there are more than 37 companies in the Asia Pacific alone, and 5 cultivated meat startups in India. Now, what does the future hold? There are plenty of opportunities to advance smart proteins in India. GFI India has been actively engaging with key ministries, agencies, and institutions across the country, being involved in initiatives like roadmap building, where we align on critical research and talent gaps for funding and training across food, agri, biotech, and manufacturing disciplines. We also work on talent development by supporting the development of training curriculum and coursework across various scientific disciplines with a focus on practical training. We also work on filling scientific knowledge gaps by collaborating with various educational institutions across the country and encouraging research in smart protein. Venture building is also another initiative of ours where we work on nurturing entrepreneurship, incubating deep technology ventures, and ensuring technology transfer to the market. We're working towards building an Atmanirbhar Bharat in smart protein. India has tremendous crop biodiversity, with crops like pulses, millets, hemp, etc., offering huge promise to diversify the raw materials for the entire global alternative protein sector. With significant work, we can make this a reality across the value chain. Lower labor costs and a large educated workforce like we have in India means that the cost of experimentation in India is lower than in developed markets. Inspiring talent with translational skill sets to enter the all protein sector will be key to realizing this potential. Like I mentioned initially, India has a large, diverse population with rising protein demand. This creates a significant domestic addressable market over the next decade. This market is heterogeneous and presents opportunities across India's biotech and food processing industry. It may start with early adopters like flexitarian cohorts and then broaden into the wider population due to protein demand. As mentioned in previous slides, these are some white space opportunities in the sector which are currently being explored and need more research across all three verticals. And this is where young talent like yourselves can come in, upskill yourselves, and make valuable contributions to the Indian smart protein sector. That being said, one great way for you to do this as students is through research fellowships. Very shortly, we will be announcing Spark, our Smart Protein Research Fellowship, where three students pursuing or finishing their postgraduate degree from relevant disciplines will be selected to carry out a fully funded 6-month long lab based smart protein research project at a premier academic institution under the guidance of an eminent faculty mentor. Do keep an eye out on GFI India's social media and also on our website because you do not want to miss this opportunity. Applications will open very soon. We're also hiring a communications fellow to join our wonderful communications team. Applications close by 5 p.m. IST on Feb 16th. So head over to our website's career page to take a look at the job posting and make an application. You can also contact Mansi or Janvi from the communications team at these email IDs given here if you have any more questions. So far, if you've been interested in learning more about all protein by listening to me and Ashutosh speak, you can enroll in GFI's free online course. It's also a certificate course which covers pretty much everything you need to know about the science behind all proteins. You can join this course anytime and take it according to your own convenience. With that, I will conclude my talk. I hope this session was informative and that you were able to take some valuable insights with you. I'm happy to answer any questions now. Thank you for listening.
That's great, Amrutha. And I could say it was such a loaded information-based presentation that all the students which were listening, they would be very happy. And in the meantime, I have received a few questions, so I will go with that first. Then we can go ahead with some live Q&As.
Yeah.
So, like this is we're going with community building and all. So the first question was how a consumer would make an informed choice regarding this alternative protein, because there are many options. Like we said, we have more than 370 varieties under 50 different verticals. So what would be a best method to select a product? Can you say like uh, this should be a big yes for selecting and this should be a big no for the selection? Anything on this regard?
I think if you're opting for an alternative protein product, you're already doing your bit for the environment. You're already doing your bit for sustainability and also for your health. So, choosing a product from the variety of all protein products that we have would purely depend on your preferences, on your taste. I have personally tasted a lot of these products and I like all of them. Not being a conventional meat eater, I still like these products. So, yeah, I think it's purely taste dependent and preference dependent.
Okay, that's great. Because in regular products, we have if it has more oil or it has more salt or sugar, then we tend to not to select that. So I think there is
True.
not, yes. So but these things are not being added into alternative protein. So that is again a like advantage for us. And
Yes.
next we'll go ahead. Like we said, we are going with cultivated meat or plant-based meat, which is against a certain cultural kind of thing, and it could have some social effect. So, can you address like in terms of acceptance, not only in India but also in Arab countries, like how the societal factors will influence the consumer to make the decision in shifting towards this alternative protein?
Definitely. So I think this is still something that's ongoing. It's a lot of people have this kind of concern, especially with regards to cultivated meat. And just as of a couple of hours ago, we actually received communication that Singapore's Muslim Association has said that cultivated meat can be halal. So that addresses a main concern that a lot of people might have. And I think that the industry is going in the right way. It's progressing really well, and soon enough all of these concerns will be addressed.
Right, that's great. I think it's a good news because I was not aware about this because it came yesterday. And again, one more thing, like we have discussed, there are three different process in which we can create alternative proteins: plant-based, fermentation, and cultivated. For a person who is a flexitarian who eats non-veg, can he go ahead with a combination method of cultivated meat and plant-based meat? Because cultivated meat, the texture will be same like the normal meat, and plant-based will be a replacement of any pulses or any millets or oilseeds. So, is it possible to create a product by mixing these two methods? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
So at the moment, there's a lot of innovation going on, and I definitely think that this is possible. But for people who are regularly used to consuming meat, I think that cultivated meat will be a great option for them, because they have no compromise there at all. They can just eat regular meat like they're eating in the form of cultivated meat with very minimal repercussions, if not none, to the environment. And I think that definitely there requires a lot more innovation in this area, because cultivated meat is still a growing sector, and is not as established as plant-based meat around the world. So yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's definitely going the right way. I think we can see that kind of innovation soon enough.
Yes, right. Because we are recently into this community building and awareness thing, and
Yeah.
to the research academia and other things will come later. And then comes again the regulation or policy part, and after that the companies will come where the real business is. So for a
Yeah.
person who is not into any technical things, but he's like, I can say, वो बनिया है, he needs money. So if someone is into Horeca, any hotel, restaurant, and cafeteria businesses, so can he or she switch to alternative protein? Like, do you have any examples for this? Like, is there any Horeca that is shifting towards plant-based or alternative proteins, so that it would be a good help for the startups also, because they can target them.
I think there's a few that are starting out now. This would definitely be a question to be asked, that our corporate engagement team can answer best, because they're into that more. But I think yes, I think there's a few definitely. Names don't come to my mind right now, but I can definitely get back with more information.
So I think these are the few questions that popped up, and in the recent live comments, you can see if there are any questions, students, you can just ask, and we'll try to answer it. Like Amruta will try to answer. Yes, recently we have just saw a question by Abhishek. One of the most important factor to be considered is cost. So, like, can you put some light onto this, Amruta? Like, you can,
Yeah.
or else just let me go ahead first. Like, let me just give my opinion. So, initially, when we see like the cost of 1 GB of internet, if you see in 2002 or 2003, what that is, and after 20 years, what is the cost of 1 GB of internet in India? So that's what revolution, or that's what like will come like in 2024. If you see, the cost is a factor, but if you think about 2044, definitely the like unit cost will be very less, because the scale of production will be very high, and product users will be very high. So this is my thought in this. Samruta, now you can just go ahead and add something to this.
Yeah, I actually think you've given a great example. Thanks, Abhishek, for that question. Um, yes, cost is one of the main bottlenecks in alternative protein sector, and where plant-based meat, eggs, and dairy are now being sold at a lower cost. Cultured meat is probably a little bit far off. It requires a lot more R&D and scale up, and a lot of initiative and research in the sector for it to be available at a lower cost. So this, like you said, my opinion on this is definitely that more research, a lot more people being mobilized, and a lot of talent filling into the talent gaps in the sector will address this issue. And I think it's we're only going onwards and upwards. Things are going to get better. And like Ashutosh said, it's uh, way back when things used to be expensive, those things are cheaper now. And we can see the same trend later on, maybe 50 years, even 10 years, even 5 years into the future.
Okay, so one more question that is popping up. I think you will be the best person to answer. It's regarding SPAC fellowship, the Smart Protein Fellowship. So you can just answer. It's about the
So
age limit.
yes, thank you for this question. At the moment, we are only focusing on master's students, people who are pursuing or who have finished their masters. There is no age limit from what we have now. Just it's just master's students, and if you have sufficient interest in the sector, I think you can definitely apply. We will be opening up applications soon, and we'll be explaining much more, and you can get a lot of your information and your questions addressed through that. Just wait a couple more weeks and all the news will be out.
Okay, so one more question by Sunny Singh. Uh, it's regarding the fermentation process. He says this is an energy intensive process, this fermentation, and the main thing that is being used in microbial fermentation, because it's a aerobic process, so oxygen is mainly used. So he's asking if any other salts or any other like solute can be added, so that the yield can be increased and the energy can be reduced. So it's again regarding the same SDGs of energy reduction and product yield enhancement. So can you say a little about this? He's suggesting
Yeah.
bubbled oxygen method, the bioreactor.
That's a great question, Sunny. And I have to say, regarding fermentation, I there is an expert at GFI. Her name is Chandana. She's our fermentation and cultivated meat specialist, and I think she'd be able to answer this question much better. Chandana, if you're there in the chat, I'm sure she's watching. Please, if you're able to answer this question, because this is amazing. I do not know. I would love to know
Anyway,
the answer as well.
yes, anyway, because in the next session, that is 10th of February, this both plant-based and fermentation, these two topics will be taken in a deeper way. Now, this session, Amrutha has talked about all the things that is there in smart protein. So, in detailed about plant-based and fermentation, we'll be seeing on 10th. So that would be a, I think in that session, this question might get touched. Okay, so I think these are the questions that I could see. If nothing is there, then I could just add up a few things to this regarding the research and academia purpose. So, like there might be some people who would be interested in working on this. One is the SPAC leaks internship they can take, and in some other example that would you would like to give, Amruta, like in which like some research organizations or some other startups where people can work on, like regarding this smart protein. In
I
one of the
think
slide,
there's
yes, in one of the slide it was there, and one of the questions also pop up regarding the same.
Okay, so there is actually a lot of faculty in a lot of eminent institutions across India who are working on smart protein. If you're genuinely interested in smart protein research or in working on smart protein, there are plenty of startups as well in India who you could join. Please keep an eye out for open roles on LinkedIn or on these startup websites, on the company websites. Additionally, if you're a student or looking to do a research program, another thing you could do is reach out to these faculty members, or you could also reach out to us. And if we know anybody that's in the sector or working on the sector or has received funding, we can definitely put you in touch with them. Yeah, so I think my email ID is in the slides. Please take a look. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Let us know, and we'll connect you with the right people if you're looking to do research.
So that was a good point to talk, because after this webinar it would be a good thing so that they know what is the action item. So this should be a good
Yes.
thing, and I'll just wait for a few more minutes so that I could take out some more questions, uh, which I'm not getting. Recently, we just got one question. It's regarding the stability of this protein formulated. I think she's asking this on for plant-based meat part, I believe. If if possible, Ravali, can you just confirm? Is it just regarding the plant-based process or for both cultivated and fermentation process? Okay, so just to go ahead, can we like can you just
Yes.
answer like what is the
I'll
protein
give
stability?
you Yeah, I'll give you a rough answer. There's a lot of, again, stability, post processing stability is another bottleneck that we're facing in plant proteins and plant based meat production. There's also a lot of technology that's emerging, like 3D printing and so on, which help address these bottlenecks. And I think, without giving away anything from the next webinars, the following webinars, this is what I can say. I would say that you should stay tuned to the next webinar so that you can get a lot more information on this.
Yes, that's a okay. So like that's all from I think Amruta and me. And if any other questions, definitely like feel free to ask, or else we can just conclude the session. And definitely regarding this plant-based protein, fermentation, and cultivated, these three are will be covered in the next couple of sessions. And the final session, the fourth session, that is regarding like job opportunity or career options. Okay, so I think there are not more questions, so we can conclude the session. And if
Thank you so
anything is there, Amruta already said, we can directly connect GFI or any other, like all the city-based projects.
And please keep an eye out for our open roles. Keep an eye out on our careers page. You can apply to the communications fellow role, and also the Spark fellowship is coming very soon for those interested. Thank you everyone so much for listening and for the great questions you all asked.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.